Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how to set up a wireless repeater bridge. Basically what this is going to do is take a existing wireless network and extend it out to another router, and then allowing you the capability to share it to several different computers, wired computers and wireless computers at the same time. And this diagram basically shows what the configuration is going to look like. We have the primary router here, which can be any kind of router as long as it's wireless and connected to other computers. Number one. Number two, this one, as you can see, is connected to a modem and then to the internet, and it will share that out to the secondary router through a wireless connection and or bridge, as you can see. And from that router, it will share that internet connection out to several different computers and wireless clients. Okay, my assumption here is that the IP address on your primary router is 192.168.1.1. It may be .0.1, it may be .3.1. Regardless, whatever it is, the secondary IP address has to reflect that. So let's say it's .0.1. Well, your secondary IP address on that router would be .0.2. If it was 1.1, as you see here, it would be 1.2 in this case. It was 3.1, then it would be 3.2 on this side. Okay, but I'll show you how to set up all that configuration. You're also going to need, on the secondary router, it's going to need to be flashed with a DD-Wrt firmware. This is a free open source firmware upgrade for your router. Basically puts standard routers, on steroids. But this video will not be showing you how to install DD-Wrt. That's a matter for other videos. There's plenty of videos showing you how to do that. But I will show you how to find out whether your secondary router is compatible with DD-Wrt, because before you even start thinking of going down this road, you need a router that can be flashed with DD-Wrt. So let's go on to onto the internet and the DD-Wrt site and see. I'll show you how to find out if you have a compatible router. So let's do that. Let's go here to the internet, and we're going to go to dd-wrt.com. And then you go to the router database over here, and it says, please enter at least 3 characters of the router's name, manufacturer, or revision. Well, let's go with one of my routers, WDR. Okay, mine is a WDR4300. That's my primary router. My secondary router is a WNR2000 version 3 Netgear, which is a different puppy altogether. I'm just going to showing you what our standard router will look like. So as you can see here, you see the listing. It says yes, it is supported. If it's not supported on this list, or you can't find it, then more than likely it's not. DD-Wrt will not work on your router, and you'll need to get a different one to make this happen. So let's click on here, and there's the bins that you require to make to flash that router. Now, like I said, I'm not going into how to flash your router. There's plenty of videos on how to do that elsewhere. Okay, so we'll close this out. Now, first thing you're going to need to do is to actually let's connect. Here we go. Is actually to connect a computer or laptop to the secondary router you're going to be using a LAN cable. Okay, why? Because basically you're going to be fooling around with the wireless connection, and it won't be reliable, and it'll be next to impossible to get this to happen through a wireless connection. So get yourself a network cable, hook it to the back of the router on one of the LAN ports, not the WAN port, but the LAN ports, and then hook it up to your laptop or computer. Okay, so once you've done that, and I'm doing that right now, then we're going to go down here to the network icon, open up Network and Sharing Center. By the way, I'm using Windows 7, so let's go to change adapter settings. First thing you're going to do is disable your wireless connection. Okay, now the reason you're doing that is you don't want to mistakenly configure the wrong router. And if you can connect it to your primary router through Wi-Fi, well, there's a possibility you could screw this up. So number one. Number two, let's go look at the router and into the, actually, let's go look at the status of that router. Sorry. Let me start that again. Let's go look at the status of your local area connection. Now, your local area connection is where, as you can see, a network cable here, is where you're connected to your secondary router using a LAN cable, which, you know, like I said, should be already done. So let's go look at the status of that. And it's got an IP address 192.168.1.124. Okay, well, that's because the router I'm hooked up into has, it's using its default settings. Okay, and that's fine. But what we want to do here is go to properties on this, and then go to Internet Protocol version 4 TCP/IP-IPv4. Double click on that. Open the following. Actually. And by default, normally, it'll be set to obtain IP address automatically and obtain DNS server address automatically. And that's a fine setting. But for the purposes of what we're doing, we have to hard code an IP address in here. So we're going to use, click on this radio button and use the following IP address. So 192.168.1. whatever. It could be, I'm going to say 5. Okay, it can't be 1, it can't be 2, because you're going to be using those on the primary router and the secondary router, and it can't be anything above 254. So it's up to you what you choose. I'm choosing 5. So like I said, not 1 or 2. Tab down to the next box, and you'll see that it auto populates, and that's fine. That's fine. And then click OK on the OK button. OK again. And at this point, the status will change. And now you see that it's IP 192.168.1.5. And that's fine. That's what you need. We'll change this back to the normal settings after we're done. Okay, so let's close this out. And let's go to Internet Explorer, whatever browser you want to use. 192.168.1.1. Now I'm using .1.1 because the default setting for DD-Wrt is .1.1, and I'm physically connected to it with a cable, so I'm not connected to any other router at this point, and I need to see what it's set up like and then configure it correctly. So let's go there. All right, and next place we're going to go is to the administration tab. What we want to do here is actually set it. Well, okay, so it's going to ask me for a username and password. I've set the username and password already, and it is, I'm using just a default Netgear password, username, password, which is admin and password. Please don't use these admin and password as your default password and username, as it's very common and hackers know it and will hack your system. No problem at all with it. I'm just using it for convenience. Okay, so now we're at the administration tab. We're going to go to the firmware, factory defaults. And then we're going to go to restore factory defaults. And it's, as you know, it warns you. If you click OK, the device will reset to factory default and all previous settings will be erased. I guess I want to say OK here. And at this point, the router will probably be rebooting. That's what appears to be happening here. So your network is going to be, well, we'll see what happens. I'm going to go right back to that same IP address, 192.168.1.1. Yeah, there it is, resetting. So I'll wait for that to finish. And I'm doing this real time so you understand how long the process actually takes. It looks like it's, Oh no, still going. I'll try it anyway, see what happens. Yeah, obviously not quite there yet. Okay, so now we're at the default 192.168.1.1 DD-Wrt config page, and after you reset the default settings, the factory settings, obviously it's going to ask you for router username and password. So we're going to set that up. It's just, use whatever you'd like. I'm just using the standard default for Netgear router, which is admin, password. Don't use that again. I'm just doing it because it's simple and quick. So there we go. We're back into the router again. At this point, we need to go to the Setup tab. And in here, we're going to change the connection type from automatic DHCP to disabled. And then we're going to go down here, change the router IP address, because as you can see, it's set to 1.1, so 192.168.1.1, which is what the primary router already is set to. So we need to set this to something different. Can't have two IP addresses on the same network with the same number. They'll conflict. And so do that. Then click down here. You'll see WAN port. Assign WAN port to switch. Well, my secondary router will never be physically connected to a modem, and it has 4 ports on the back that are LAN ports and 1 port that's a WAN port. The beauty of DD-Wrt is that it can take that and change it, the WAN port, into another LAN port. So by checking this off, you'll now take a 4-port router and make it a 5-port router. That means I can hook 5 network cables to it. That's a big plus for me. If you don't want to do it, that's fine, but I'm setting that up. Okay, and you don't need to change anything else on this, but understand that once you hit apply settings or save, it will change the IP address of the router. Now, what that means is that the page, you won't be able to see the page again. You'll have to change it. So let's do that. Okay, and let's go down. I'm going to go and save it. I'm not sure which one does that, but I just hit apply settings, now hit save. I highly doubt we're going to see anything past this point. Okay, and as I predicted, after I hit save, well, page cannot be displayed. Well, that's because the router is no longer on that IP address. So let's take that down to 192.168.1.2, which is where we put the router. There it is. So next thing we need to do is go to setup. Well, put my password in, username and password. Again, don't use that. And we see that our settings took. Everything's set right there. So next we're going to go to security. So by default, this router is going to be a pass-through device. It's basically going to be acting like a network cable with a wireless connection at the end of it. Okay, so we don't need to set a firewall here. So let's disable the firewall. I'm assuming that you have a firewall installed on your regular router, your primary router, or on your computers themselves. So I'm just going to, click that enable. Uncheck all these boxes first. Make sure everything is disabled, and it is. And then go over here to disable. And then click apply changes. Alright. I'd like to hit save afterwards, so I'm going to hit save. Okay, so you can do it either way. You can say saved and then apply changes. It's up to you. At this point, we're going to go and set up the wireless connection. Okay, so we go back to wireless. And you see the wireless mode, that's the first thing we're going to have to change. And depending on what firmware you're running, on what actual hardware you're running, this wireless mode will change, okay? Because I'm running this Netgear, and it's only giving me one option, which is, well, a bunch of options, but the one we want to pick here is the client bridge routed. Now, different hardware will have different options here. If you don't have client bridge routed, the other option that you'll have is repeater bridge. So it's up to you, okay, which one you pick. Obviously, you pick the one that you have. So in my case, it's client bridge routed. And then I have a mixed network mode. That's fine. Channel width is 20 megahertz. That's fine too. So I'm leaving that with the auto, with the defaults. Wireless channel, leave it on auto. And then we get to the next one. And that's the wireless network name, or SSID. And what you're doing here is you're going to choose, you're going to put the SSID of your primary router. That's the router that is hooked up to all your other computers, the one that's hooked up to the modem. So in my case, I made it simple. And the primary router's name is primary router. You can say SSID broadcast if you wish. I don't like to do that, but it makes it easier to connect to it if you're using it on a wireless. But then it makes it easier for hackers to find too. So I just click on disable on wireless SSID broadcast, and then we hit apply. Actually, save. We'll do it the right way. Save. And once you hit save, you see that you have auto DHCP or manual. Okay? Well, we're going to say auto, because what it's going to do is when it connects, it will connect to the other router and get the IP information from the other router. Okay? So auto DHCP, leave that on there. Now notice that that wasn't there prior to hitting saved. Okay? So I'm going to hit apply. And I'll hit save one more time. What the heck? So, at this point, you've done the primary. You've done the SSID. Now, I'm assuming you're running security on your wireless router. I hope you are, because otherwise anybody in the neighborhood can hack into your systems. So, next we're going to go wireless security. Actually, let's go back to basic settings. Okay. Basically, if you don't know what these settings are, log into your primary router and look at the wireless settings. It'll have these settings on it somewhere, except for the auto DHCP. But it'll have the other channel width and the network SSID on it. So let's go to wireless security. My wireless security mode is WPA2 personal. I suggest using that. Do not use WEP, as it can easily be cracked or hacked. Okay, so WEP is not secure. So try WPA or WPA2 personal. I'm using WPA2 personal. I like it. It seems to be pretty solid. So we'll choose that. And like I said, if you don't know what these settings are, log into your primary router and find out what they are. Okay, so mine is AES, WPA algorithm, and the shared key, well, I'm just going to type it in here. And as you can see, I like using a passphrase as opposed to a password. Okay, so I'm going to hit apply settings here. And then I'm going to hit save. It's up to you how you do that. Okay. So actually, probably the best way to do that is the other way around. Hit on save and then that. Let me get back to where we were. Okay. So now we're back to the router again. And at this point, let's see what's going on here. Actually, let's look at the status for a second. And let's look at the wireless status. You can see that I'm actually, at this point, looks like I am connected. Okay, so at this point I have what they call a client bridge, but it's not, the wireless access is not actually shared out. Okay, so let's test that out. The best way to test it is to see if you get an IP address automatically. Well, it's not the best way, but it's one of the ways. Let's go do that. Let's change. Okay, so sorry, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Let's go change the network card so it automatically gets the IP address, which it will be getting from the primary router if it's connected correctly. So, you know, let's go here. Let's go change to, okay, well, let's see what status wouldn't matter. Let's go to properties and then TCP IP, and we're going to change this to obtain address automatically, obtain DNS server address automatically, and okay. And as you can see, my bottom setting here is now flashing, and it's actually now showing internet access, which is a good sign. It's basically my secondary router is now talking to my primary router. So let's go look at the status and the details. And I got 192.168.1.124, so it's getting an IP address. The default gateway is 192.168.1.1. That's correct. Close this off. Close this off. I'm going to close this off too. Let's just check and see if we're on the internet. So let's go DD-Wrt2000v3. And bingo. Okay, so let me show you something here. First off, the network icon says internet access. It looks good there. And let's change adapter settings here. You'll notice that my wireless network is actually disconnected, okay, or disabled. So currently I'm surfing the internet through my cable that's connected to my router, and through the router, the secondary router that's connected to my primary router. The next thing we need to do is set up a wireless access to this router. So we're going to go back to wireless. Okay, and at this point we're going to click on add. You see down here that we have virtual interfaces. We're going to click on add. And at this point what you're doing is you're creating a virtual wireless interface or router that your clients will be able to connect to. Okay, so here we're going to go and say, all right, I'm going to leave the wireless network name SSID as DD-Wrt_VAP. I mean, it's up to you what you change it to. You can say secondary router. Well, let's change it to secondary router. Let's just call it secondary. Let's call it secondary W. Actually, we'll keep it all lowercase just to make it simple. Secondary W. And as you can see here, it says wireless SSID broadcast. As you can see up there, it's no longer there because it doesn't need it to do that. But here on the virtual interface, which is going to be your setup for the secondary router wireless, we're going to say, okay, we're going to change it to secondary W, and then wireless SSID broadcast. So click on save on there. And then we're going to go to wireless security because we want wireless security. And you see that you have the physical interface and the virtual interface. Don't play with the physical interface. It's working just fine. So here we're going to go to the virtual interface. And again, I like WPA2 and AES. And then type in a shared key. I'm just going to say password here for easiness. And then click apply. I do that backwards every time. So save here. Apply. Alright. So at this point, what you've created is a wireless interface on your secondary router that clients can connect to. Okay? So obviously the router's a little bit off line at this point, but let's just put it back here. Wait for that. And it must be rebooting. Yeah, it's rebooting. So let's just wait for that. Okay, we're back up. And now we need to test the wireless connection to that secondary router. Back to your network icon down here. We're going to go to Network and Sharing Center, change adapter settings, and we're going to enable the wireless and disable the LAN. I guess you could just pull your network cable out if you wish to. It's up to you. I'm just disabling it. That way you can see that I'm actually, I'm only running wireless at this point. So let's go down here to our wireless connections. And as you can see, mine is already connected to the primary router on the second channel, as it's called. So I don't want that. I want to hook up to my secondary router on the wireless interface on that. So as you can see down here, there it is, secondary W. Okay, so I'm going to click on that. I'm going to choose connect. Needs a password. In this case, it's password. Okay. All right. I believe I'm connected to it. Let's double check. There it is. It says connected to it. Let's see if we can actually browse that router. So let's go to status. Ta-da! So there we go. I'm connected, physically connected. I'm not physically. I'm wirelessly connected to the secondary router, which is connected to the primary router, as you saw in the just in this graphic that I have. Okay. So currently I'm this guy. I'm this wireless laptop connected to this router, and then to this router wirelessly. So beautiful, right? And by the way, I can connect to this wirelessly, and I can connect up to 5 more computers to the ports in the back, and even more if I had a switch hooked up to it. So all of which I have videos of. So let's minimize this out of the way. Let's double check, make sure we're surfing. So how about let's go to support, as we haven't been there yet. Ta-da, we're surfing. Now the next neat thing is I can actually look at my primary router from here. 192.168.1.1. Alright? And we get the usual admin, password, combination. Ta-da! There's my primary router. And just to verify, I'm on the TP-Link WDR4300 version 1. And here, let's open up a second router. The second router, which is 192.168.1.2. How cool is that? And once again, let's see the status here. Again, admin, password. And we see this. Let's look at wireless. And as you can see, there's 2 connections. And see if it shows me in here. Well, we're connected. And proof positive that it's both working. Let's see. Let's look at the network sharing center. Adapter settings. Only connected through wireless. My status. Okay. As you can see, I'm now on a 1.1.105. So 192.168.1.105, blah, blah, blah. I'm all connected. Basically, working well. And I'm hooked up to secondary wireless. See, secondary W. And if you look at my primary router under wireless, you'll see that I have primary router and let's see, wireless security. Obviously 2 different connections because it's a dual band router. Back to basic. Waiting for this. There we go. Sorry. Wireless. And, you know, how cool is that? Now I have basically created my picture. I've got my primary router 192.168.1. Show you that. Go to setup. You see it? 192.168.1.1. TP link WDR4300. And my secondary router at the IP address 192.168.1.2. Back to, sorry, here, and there we go, 1.2. So if you follow my steps, hopefully it's not too confusing, and if you follow my steps carefully and step by step, this is what you get as a result. Now remember, you know, IP addresses, all this stuff has to be done correctly. SSID and password from the primary router have to be put into the secondary router correctly. Otherwise, it's not going to connect. And there's really no indication of it not connecting. But if you do it right, it will automatically connect. And you'll have this beautiful configuration that I have here. And, you know, you can extend your wireless network throughout your house or further than that. Usually wireless connectivity is 300 feet on a perfect day with line of sight. So, you know, up to you how you hook this up. If you have an office upstairs, you don't want to run wire up there. This secondary router can connect you to the primary router downstairs and extend your wireless range throughout that floor. Okay? All right. Hopefully this video has been helpful to you. Thank you for watching and have a great day.